What's up, Piper friends? Welcome to Tim's School of Pipes, and class is in session. We live in a fast-paced world. Everything happens rapidly. Everybody's in a hurry all the time. We live in a chaotic world.
This world's chaotic, man.
And with that, a lot of people are looking for ways to disconnect and detach from the chaos of this world. And so a lot of people are trying pipe smoking for the very first time. Because ultimately, pipe smoking is a way to slow down and detach, disconnect from all the chaos of this world, and just relax and have introspective time, quiet time, peace. But a lot of new pipe smokers have a lot of questions because there's a learning curve involved. So today I want to give you 15 tips for a new pipe smoker that is absolutely going to change the game for you and make your pipe smoking experience so much better. So without further ado, let's pack this bowl. All right, tip number one, start with a corncob pipe for a couple of reasons. Corncob pipes are inexpensive, and so if you find that pipe smoking's just not for you, you're not out $100 or a whole bunch of money. You can get a good corncob pipe for $10. The other reason to start with a corncob pipe is because tobacco blends burn cool in a corncob pipe because the cob absorbs some of that heat. Tip number two, most new pipe smokers are going to start with aromatic tobaccos, but don't only start with aromatics. Try several different blends for a couple reasons. First of all, you might be surprised at what you actually like. And secondly, aromatics tend to cause what's called tongue bite, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's like a burn on the surface of the tongue. I promise you, you're going to get tongue bite at some point when you're smoking a pipe. But the reason aromatics cause tongue bite is because of that topping on there and preservatives. They tend to be especially moist or wet. And so what happens is you draw on your pipe more often, you draw on it harder in order to keep it lit, and doing that is part of the reason that causes tongue bite. So tip number two, try several different tobaccos, not only aromatics. Tip number three, be patient when at first you don't detect all these flavor notes that veteran pipe smokers talk about. Right? You're most likely not going to taste anything. And there's a couple reasons for this. Number one, you're smoking too fast. This is the most common problem with new pipe smokers. You're smoking too fast and you're burning the tobacco instead of toasting the tobacco, and so you're not getting those flavor notes. And number two, your palate is not developed. Think about this. If you tried whiskey or wine for the very first time, you're not going to take that first sip of whiskey and say, I detect caramel, a little bit of vanilla, some oak, some leathery notes, some floral notes, a little bit of earthy notes and grassy notes. No, that's not going to happen. You're going to drink that whiskey and go, it tastes like liquor, right? The first time you smoke on a pipe, you're going to be like, well, it tastes like smoke, right? Be patient, slow down your smoking, give your palate time to develop. I promise you it will get there, okay? So be patient when at first you don't taste all those flavors and notes that those of us that have been smoking for a while talk about. Number four, dry your tobacco more than you think it needs to be dried. Most tobacco is going to come more moist than it needs to be. And I've got some other videos on the correct moisture level of your tobacco. So because of that, most of the time your tobacco needs to be set out on a paper plate or whatever to dry before you smoke it. If you think it needs to be dried for an hour, dry it for 2 hours. If you think it needs to be dried for 30 minutes, dry it for an hour. As a new pipe smoker, it is better to err on the dry side than the moist side. And the reason is, again, if it's moist, you're going to have to relight it more often. You're going to pull on it harder, and you're going to pull on it more often, and you're going to get tongue bite. So dry your tobacco more than you think it needs to. Tip number five, don't be discouraged about having to relight your pipe. The amount of relights that you have to do starts before you ever pack the bowl. It depends on the moisture level of the tobacco that you're smoking and how you pack the bowl, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. If the bowl is packed too loose, you're going to have to relight it more often. If the bowl is packed too tight, you're going to have to relight it more often. If the tobacco is too moist, you're going to have to relight it more often. But I promise you, the number of relights that you have to do is not a reflection of your pipe smoking acumen. Don't think that veteran pipe smokers do a char light and then one true light and that's it. It also depends on how much you're talking. If you're talking, your pipe is going to go out. It's not like cigarette tobacco that they pump full of chemicals to make it keep burning so that you smoke more. Pipe tobacco doesn't have that in there. So look, don't be discouraged. If you have to relight your pipe 10 or 15 or 20 times, don't sweat it. Nobody's going to look at you and go, that guy doesn't know what he's doing because he's had to relight his pipe twice. Right, number 6, pack your bowl much more loosely than you think you need to. I have videos on how to pack a bowl correctly, but pack it much more loosely than you think you need to. You're going to set yourself up for success. You're going to get less tongue bite. You're going to have fewer relights. Number 7, tamp your tobacco much more loosely than you think you need to. One thing I see new pipe smokers do, they take their tamper and they just start smashing down in there, right? The purpose of tamping is so that the ember on the surface of the tobacco that's burning stays in contact with the tobacco underneath it, and it's also to flatten out the ash so that when you relight, your flame actually touches the tobacco. So tamp very gently. Number 8, do not remove a stem from a hot pipe. Wait for it to cool off before you remove a stem for 2 reasons. You're more likely to crack your shank if you remove the stem while the pipe is hot, and your stem is more likely to become loose over time and not fit in there snugly. So don't remove a stem from a hot pipe. Number 9, clean your pipe after each use. Once it has cooled down, remove the stem, run a pipe cleaner through it, run the pipe cleaner down through the bowl and through the shank, done, right? Quick tip, I use isopropyl alcohol. You can also use some sort of liquor. Spiced rum is good. Just dip your pipe cleaner in there, run it down through there a couple times, boom, boom, done. Clean it after every use and your pipe is going to outlive you. It's going to outlive your children and it's going to outlive your grandchildren. Take care of your pipes and your pipes will take care of you. Number 10, smoke much more slowly than you think you need to, right? That is the biggest mistake of new pipe smokers. It's why they get tongue bite. It's why they can't taste flavors, is because they're smoking too quickly. A lot of new pipe smokers think you have to have these huge clouds of smoke and that's what makes you look like an accomplished pipe smoker. That's not true. What you're going for is tiny little wisps of smoke and that's it. You want to sip and not chug. Tiny little sips, slowly, and you're going to have a much more pleasurable smoking experience. Number 11, don't go out and buy a bunch of tins of tobacco when you first start smoking. They have what's called bulk tobacco. They sell it in little baggies at 1 ounce at a time. It costs anywhere between $2 and $5 at most online tobacconists, most brick and mortar tobacconists. You can get what's called bulk tobacco. This allows you to try a bunch of different tobacco, and if you don't like it, you're only out a couple bucks instead of 20 bucks for a whole tin. So don't go out and buy a bunch of tins. Start with bulk tobacco. Tip number 12, don't be afraid to ask questions. Every pipe smoker was a new pipe smoker at some time. Every pipe smoker packed up that pipe, lit it, and smoked their very first bowl of pipe tobacco at some point, and they all went through the same learning curve that you're going to go through. So don't be afraid to ask questions. That is the best way to learn, is by asking veteran pipe smokers. Number 13, don't necessarily think that a full bent pipe is better. A lot of new pipe smokers, they tend to gravitate toward bent pipes because they think it looks cooler. There's a couple problems with that. Not every tobacco smokes well in a bent pipe. And the other thing is, you might be a wet smoker. What that means is when you smoke, some of your saliva tends to go back down through the stem and the shank and collect in the bottom of the bowl, and that happens more often with bent pipes. I tend to be a wet smoker, so when I do smoke a bent pipe, I don't smoke aromatics because they're already moist. So if I'm smoking a moist tobacco with my drooly self in a bent pipe, I'm going to get what's called gurgle, which is this gurgling sound that you can hear and feel when you're smoking your pipe, and this horrible acrid taste. So don't think that a bent pipe is necessarily better just because you think it looks cool. Number 14, a bigger bowl is not necessarily better. It doesn't make you more of an accomplished pipe smoker. Don't go out and get some huge bent calabash Sherlock Holmes pipe with a giant bowl that you can stuff 2 ounces of tobacco in. And that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's a time commitment. Even a small bowl like this is going to take 45 minutes to smoke. All right, there's the time commitment issue, and then also breaking in the pipe. If the bowl is too big, you're going to smoke half of it and dump it out. You're going to smoke half of it because it takes so long and dump it out. Half of it and dump it out. So what's happening when you do that is you're creating a cake, which is a protective layer of carbon inside the pipe. You're creating a cake at the top, but not the bottom. And this can lead to problems down the road. So bigger is not necessarily better. I recommend you start with a small bowl, figure out how long it takes to smoke that bowl, and then you'll acquire more pipes and you'll experiment with different shapes and figure out what you like best. But don't necessarily start with a giant bent pipe. Not a good idea. And then lastly, slow everything down. I've already talked about slowing down your cadence, the rate at which you smoke. Slowing down your cadence is going to allow you to detect more flavors. It's going to prevent tongue bite. But remember, the purpose of smoking tobacco is not only the wonderful flavors that we get, but it is time to slow down. That's the purpose. This world is chaotic. It is fast-paced, and we need that time to disconnect from all the chaos of the world and just slow down and have peaceful, introspective, slow-moving time that is missing from our world today. So, slow down when you're smoking. Slow down the rate at which you're acquiring new tobaccos. You don't have to buy everything that you see coming out. Slow down the rate at which you're buying new pipes. Get yourself a corncob pipe. Get yourself a few bulk blends of tobacco. Get a moderate size bowl and a lighter. That's all you need to start. And then practice your technique. Figure out what you like. Everything else will come in time. So there you go, boys and girls, 15 tips. I hope that helps some of you guys. As always, I appreciate you for watching. Give me a thumbs up. Drop me a comment down in the comment section. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Just click my picture right over there. That's it for this episode of Tim's School of Pipes, boys and girls. Class dismissed.